Hey everybody, I just posted in the chat, but we're gonna get started a little bit after 1 o'clock just to allow everyone else to get logged on for today. So I see a couple of y'all, so folks that are slow to join us. So we're excited that you're here. I like to encourage you, if you want, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, your name, your major, what high school you went to, and we'll start building some connections that way. But otherwise, I'm gonna leave my camera off. I'll be back here again, probably about 1:05 or so, again, just to allow everybody to get logged on. So we'll see you in a few. All right, I still see some folks that are trickling in, but we're going to get started. For the 10 of you or so that are here today, again, happy Friday. Welcome to our, what we're calling our final fall Q&A session. And hopefully today we're going to talk about some information. We want to cover some important things for you all, but we really want to give this as an opportunity for you all to ask questions of us. So Michael Harrison and Star Wilds are both on this session with me. They're two of our amazing academic advisors here on campus. So they're going to join in a little bit and share again some important information that we want you all to know. But our hope is truly that this will turn into an open Q&A session. There's only about 10 of us right now, so I also want to encourage you beyond in the chat. Thanks to all of you that are introducing yourself and posting who you are and what high school you went to and all that. But I also want to encourage you to turn your camera on. I'm gonna speak for Star and Michael, but I know they agree with me, is that we very much love seeing faces and getting to know who you all are. And so I want to encourage you to turn your camera on, even if you're just listening for a while, but especially as we do some Q&A, would very much love to hear some voices and get to talk to you all as we go through this. So again, you've seen my face plenty through orientation, but my name is Megan. I serve as the coordinator in orientation. Our first year Friday series has been going on for the last couple of weeks. I see a couple of familiar names here that I know have joined some sessions before, so welcome back to all of you. I can't believe that summer is almost over, that the start of school is just like a week and a half away, which is just totally nuts to me. So again, thus why we're having this session is any last things. We know that things, it's kind of getting real. Classes are starting in, I guess it's what, 10 days for most of you, unless you have some of those fun Saturday classes. But we also know it's been a little bit crazy in figuring out financial aid and paying your tuition this week, trying to figure out your final plan for classes and Blackboard and all that. So again, Star, Michael, and I will be sharing some of those important things, some important dates and things we want you to remember. But again, at the end of session, we'll just do some kind of open conversation and talk about things and see if we can make sure that you all are feeling ready to start in just 10 days, right? So with that, I do want to share some important dates. We will share these on all our social media channels, but I encourage you, if you want, grab a picture of this or screenshot it. We, of course, are starting classes next weekend. If you have any of those Saturday classes, or Monday the 24th for any of your normal weekday classes, it would say on your class schedule which one's which, but obviously if it says Saturday class, you'll start on the 22nd. And then the 24th, of course, is that Monday, the first week of school. September 21st, if you remember this from orientation, Census Day is a super important day here on campus. So September 21st is about 4 weeks or so into fall semester. If you have a class that you're struggling with, or you're just really not digging, or really just giving you a hard time, that magic day, Census Day, is the last day that you can drop that class without it having any record on your transcript. Now, you can drop that class after September 21st, but it will have a W, which is a withdraw on your transcript. So it shows that once upon a time you were enrolled and dropped that class super late. The real cool thing is, when we were on the quarter system, Census Day used to be like day 10 of the quarter or something absurd. Now you have like 4 weeks, which gives you a lot longer to really feel out the class, kind of figure it out, and kind of get your feet wet and figure out, okay, this is a class I'm good for this semester. I can commit to this. And especially especially virtually, there are going to be some challenges without a doubt, but September 21st is that magic day you definitely want to put on your calendar just in case you feel that you need to drop a class. The end of October is when our spring semester advising begins, and that's also always crazy to me, because it's like, well, I'm only halfway through the semester. What do you mean I'm talking about spring semester classes already? But make note of that, because you'll definitely want to make sure that if you want to talk to an advisor, that you look forward to those appointments and schedule them so that you're ready to register for spring classes starting early November. So kind of as we're winding down on fall semester, we get ready to register for spring semester classes, which is both like crazy, but also really exciting, right? And as we get into November and December, I think it's also important to note that Thanksgiving, and then we turn around and within a week you're in final exams for fall semester. So make note of that. We did share with your parents or a lot of your family members throughout our parent and family orientation sessions this summer that, hey, if your student is studying for final exams over Thanksgiving dinner, that's why, because we have a really quick turnaround between our Thanksgiving break and when fall exams begin. So again, make note of these. Again, we'll share these all over our channels the next couple of weeks. but important dates that we want you to be aware of just so you don't miss any of those deadlines and nothing comes to bite you later. A couple of other things I want to share with you before we jump to some of our information from advising. I know there's been lots of confusion in terms of Blackboard and having your fall classes show up. So it's not that you're not in the class. Your class is entirely contingent upon when your professor makes it active. So if you're not seeing any of your fall classes or only see one of the 4 fall classes that you're enrolled in, it's only because your professors are still working on creating those. And they have to make them live before you can actually access them. So it's not about, I didn't pay. It's not because you're not actually enrolled. You are enrolled as long as you see it in your class schedule. Blackboard will only populate those classes when your professor says like, all right, I'm ready for it to launch. So don't freak out. What I've heard from a lot of the orientation leaders is most professors who have a Blackboard page will usually launch it the week or so before classes begin. So I would anticipate starting next Monday or so, you'll probably start seeing a lot more of that roll out. Again, you might see 1 at a time, you might see 4 in one day, but just know as long as it's in your class schedule, you have that class, your professor is just finishing putting the final touches on it and putting it together. A couple of resources, if you don't have access to a laptop, or I'd say consistent access to a laptop, if you have a lot of siblings at home who are also doing online school or having issues with Wi-Fi, there's a couple of really cool programs that we have on campus that we want to make sure that you are aware of. So number one, we do have a laptop lending program that will allow you to borrow a laptop, from campus for the semester. I believe they're doing it a semester at a time, not a year at a time. So you'll have to like recheck it out for spring semester. But a really great opportunity. Again, if you don't have access to a laptop consistently or at all, this will allow you a great opportunity to borrow one from campus. I would also encourage you, being on Zoom is pretty easy from your phone or a tablet, even if you don't have a laptop, but I would definitely encourage you, because you can't really write a paper on your phone. You can on your tablet, but it's kind of hard. So I definitely encourage you that, if you don't have an actual laptop or desktop computer to definitely take advantage of that. Similarly, we have a hotspot lending program. So if you don't have great Wi-Fi or if you need a hotspot, we have a borrowing program from that too. So I will link those here in a little bit. And then Wi-Fi access on campus. So while campus is not open for classes and all that, we do have some great Wi-Fi access and things that our campus has been working on to access internet on campus. So if you have a vehicle and a computer, you can drive to either of the 2 back parking garages on campus. You don't need a parking permit to park there for a couple of hours, which is also great. And the parking garages have been souped up with a number of routers to really increase our Wi-Fi capabilities. So again, if you don't have internet at home or don't have great internet at home and have the ability to get to campus, you can access the Wi-Fi from campus and be able to do your classes and stuff that way. Also a great option if you just need to get out of the house for a little while and you can access class from the parking garages on campus. So either the 2 back parking garages are open for that. Again, you don't need a parking permit, which is also great because they know students are coming and going, trying to get to access class and take advantage of all that stuff. So, and then lastly, my last little bit is if you have not made it a habit already, please make sure that you're checking your Coyote email. Especially here leading to the start of classes, I would recommend at least every day, if not a couple times a day, link it to your phone, do whatever you do to make sure it's consistent for you so we can make sure that you're not missing any of those updates, communications from your professors, communications from the university, and that you're not missing any important updates. So make sure you check your email. If you have not done so already, again, you can set it up and get it to your phone or whatever method you need accessible through your My Coyote. So a couple there. Eric, I see your questions. So I have a few good questions about where I can start auto deposit through financial aid and how I can put my books online. Sure. So I will share in the chat. There is a way to set up your direct deposit. It's not through financial aid, it's through the Office of Student Financial Services. They're the ones that do your tuition statement. So there is a way to set up direct deposit to do that. So I will share their how-to guide on how to do that. And then you can purchase your books online from the Coyote bookstore. I will link you to that as well. But once your professors share what books that you need, you can buy your books online. They're doing in-person pickup from a service window, or you can have it shipped directly to your house. So whatever you prefer, but I will share both those links here in a second. But from here, I'm going to turn it over to Star, I think, or Michael.
was trying to unmute myself, but hello. Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome everyone. We are so excited that you are joining us because you could be anywhere in the virtual world, Instagram, TikTok until that goes away, Netflix, but you are here with us. And again, I want to truly thank Megan for the invitation to this amazing session that we have to answer your questions. I know what I've been getting from students is that they're feeling anxious. So how many of y'all are feeling anxious? You could, I know that there's reactions on here. You could raise your hand or you can clap. I had students tell me that they feel a little bit of anxiety because this is all new. So I want to let you all know, let's embrace all those feelings and let's just let it sit, because you know what, it's normal. I felt the same way when we were coming to work here at home, and my colleague here, Michael, I want to introduce him here shortly. As we have both shared, you know, it's just a different time. And being that I want to encourage you all, it is a different time. It is new to some of us, but guess what? Just like, I know, maybe think of it like this, think of the experiences when you had to learn how to do something. And I always use like learn how to ride a bike, because till this day, I'm still kind of, you know, or learning how to swim, or learning how to ride a skateboard, or learning your ABCs. Think about those times and moments. You learned how to do that, right? You eventually did. And so I want to encourage you to take it a day at a time, take a deep breath. Sometimes just smiling, even though you want to cry or you're angry, helps too. But I want to let you know, again, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Megan, for having this. This is amazing. I'm going to share my screen here because I want to make sure that I share just a little PowerPoint to keep me focused on what we'll discuss and what I'm going to share along with my colleague here, Michael. And as I'm pulling that up, I would ask I'm going to tag my bud Michael here to introduce himself. But again, my name is Star Wilds, advisor for advising in academic services.
Good afternoon, everyone. You may have seen me before, probably so. That was through the orientation webinar that we conducted. Once again, my name is Michael Harrison. I work alongside Star. We are both part of the Office of Advising in Academic Services. You will be seeing and hearing from us quite a bit over the next year and a half, but I wanted to reintroduce myself to you.
Awesome. And I know y'all know Michael, right? Familiar face. So again, thank you so much, Michael, for joining me on this. And thank you again, Megan. So I just wanted to let you know, again, please feel free to answer questions. I'll make sure I chime into the questions and help answer the questions that are coming to the chat. I know that Michael and Megan and I will be doing that as well. We'll also answer some of them live. And then I just wanted to again, with all the information that Megan had shared, we also wanted to remind you that as you begin the fall term, you will be meeting with us, Michael and I, but also and I know Michael have already covered this, but we just wanted to kindly remind you the advising structure, because I know some of you may have attended the college weeks and got to meet maybe some of your college advisors. But in the next slide, I'm going to go ahead and tag my bud Michael as he will share how that would look. But also who you will all be meeting with.
Thank you so much, Star. I appreciate that. So we are representing the Office of Advising in Academic Services. Why is that important? Because the Office of Advising in Academic Services is made up of a wonderful staff, but as part of that staff, there are about 6 academic advisors who you will probably be meeting with over the next year and a half. When it comes to academic advising, as I mentioned before, think of academic advising like your high school guidance counselor, very similar to that. An academic advisor doesn't put you into classes or give you a schedule, but they do work with you as you are developing your schedule, answering questions for you about your grades, academics. There are a number of campus resources that students can use, academic resources like tutoring. We have a writing center on campus. We have a career center on campus. And so our office is well-versed and knowledgeable about academic resources and directing you to those resources that can be helpful. But in the orientation, I talked a little bit about earning units. So you're going to be earning units, collecting units to get to 120. So every class is worth a certain amount of units. So for most students, they'll be starting out with no units, right? Some people may be coming in with AP credits, community college credits, but for most students coming in with 0 units. Around 30 units, you become a sophomore. So every time you earn 30 units, you increase your class level. You know, in high school, after you finish your first year, you're a sophomore. After you finish your second year, junior, senior. In college, it's different. It's based on the number of units you earn. So for you, as it's saying in the bottom right, from 0 to 45 units, 0 to 45 units. So that's about a year and a half. You're going to be meeting with the Office of Advising and Academic Services. To get in contact with us, you can send us an email. You can give us a phone call. You can give us a call. Our number is listed at the bottom. We are answering phones. And then also on the left side, there is a link that you can meet our wonderful staff. It is myself, Star. And as I mentioned, there's a few other academic advisors that will be meeting with you. And real quickly, I just want to explain the different kinds of advisors. We are professional advisors. So our full-time job is to meet with students. That's what we do all day throughout the day. Okay. There are also peer advisors, and we have some wonderful student success peer advisors within our office who you could meet with, and they will also be meeting with you in addition to the professional advisors. And then there are also faculty. Now, faculty members are the ones that teach the classes, okay? And as Star was actually pulled up for me, these are our student success peer advisors. And so you, in addition to meeting with professional advisors, you would be meeting with the peer advisors as well. And then, oh, and here's some pictures of our wonderful staff. This is the Office of Advising and Academic Services. So some of our screenshots there. So these are some of the faces you'll see when we get back on the campus. And in the meantime, you may see them virtually through Zoom. And then the last kind of advisor is a faculty advisor. So you're going to be sitting in class, and there's going to be people teaching the classes. The people that teach the classes are, some people call them instructors, some people call them faculty members, right? Or professors, right? But the faculty members are the ones that teach. Did you know that in your major, there are faculty members, people that teach classes within your major? And did you know that you have the opportunity to meet with those faculty members, to ask them questions about your major? They have experience because they've been doing it. They're probably in the field. They've probably published something. They've probably done a lot of research. So faculty members can be really, really helpful to meet with as well, to ask those questions about research, internships, major. So there are a number of resources that you will have during this time, but just keep in mind that for the first 45 minutes, it'll be advising and academic services that you would be meeting with.
And thank you so much, Michael. And I just want to make sure if there are any questions, please ask, but I also wanted to stop share here because I wanted to make sure that I address, this has been questions that I've had throughout my meetings with students, and I'm going to ask Michael to chime in if I'm missing anything here, but a lot of students, and I wrote down some things here. So fall 2020, is it virtual? Are we just going online? And I know we've had that question. I see Megan, she's like, yeah, we've had that question, right? Yes, for right now, fall 2020 is virtual. The courses are virtual. I know that there are labs, and again, more information to come regarding the labs, but we encourage you, as Megan had mentioned, as Michael had mentioned, please make sure you keep up to date with your email. Anything, I know another question was, hey, spring 2021, is that going to be virtual? And the answer is, we don't know yet, right? We don't know. So please be patient with us. Please don't hate us. We're just trying to get the information as it comes, but also checking your email. Check any one of our social media outlets. I know Megan and her team does an amazing job. Everything up to date. When an email comes out, there's already a post. So please make sure that you continue to follow. If you have not followed, please do follow. And I'm sure she'll provide the social media handle here, but also our CSUSB advising Instagram, Snapchat, the whole works. Please make sure you follow as well as we share information. And Megan, I see that you have your unmuted, so I'll go ahead and mute your mic.
Yeah, I have a quick update. So if you are in a science lab course or art or music, as those are the courses that were determined to be at some point possibly having an in-person modality on campus. So your class will still be on Blackboard and virtual, but especially if it's a lab course, your bio lab, your chem lab, music is probably pretty hard to do on Zoom. So there is a set number of courses that the university has determined are going to have some kind of in-person modality on campus. You should have received communication already about that in a number of ways. First and foremost, your class schedule would have updated to say, hang on, let me find the verbiage to make sure I say this correctly. Your class schedule would have already been updated that under the location, sorry, I'm not gonna say under the location, but your class schedule should have updated to say hybrid course. Somewhere on your class schedule, you would see hybrid. Probably, Michael Starr, you might be able to help me with this. I don't think it's location, but there's some other place where it says like online or lecture or whatever. But there should be a place on your class schedule that it would say hybrid course. You probably should have already gotten communication from your professor, or at least the academic department. So from the Department of Biology, about some of that communication as well. You should have also received a notification through your My Coyote with notification if you were enrolled in any of those classes specifically. So if you're not in bio, if you're not in music, this doesn't really matter. But if you are enrolled in any of those courses, you would have seen some communication through your My Coyote portal from the departments as well. And then you should have seen, again, notification from your email, also in Blackboard, again, from your professors on any of those communications. So if you're still not sure, definitely reach out either to advising, to us. We can definitely help you check that out and where that is, or how to tell on your class schedule what that looks like. And we can help you navigate that as well.
Awesome. That information, thank you so much, Meg, because I know we had asked that earlier. That's awesome. So now I learned to let my students know as well, because I know that we were told, hey, you know what? They're going to get notifications, so that's good that they're already notified. So please make sure you check your schedule. If you see hybrid, that's what it means, and then check your emails for the instructions of what you need to do. Awesome. So I wanted to let you know, I know we talked about the Coyote bookstore, and here's another question that came up through our DM this morning. Do I have to go to the bookstore to purchase my book? And I'm going to say this, guess what? You don't. You could purchase your books online. You could rent them. We do highly encourage students to see what textbooks they would need for their courses, because you could find out, and I'm actually going to walk you through it if that's okay, because I know the question kept coming up, so I want to make sure I share that all with you. So if I don't know, or I'm like, oh, what's the bookstore's information or link, I'm just going to go Coyote bookstore.
Trust the Googles.
I'm sorry. Oh, and I'm on another web browser, so I'm so sorry for all the Google people that use it. I just selected whatever was on here. So yes, you could Google. Google is my friend. And so again, it's here. When you select it, what it would allow you to do, and there it's here on the first page, is you could find your text. This is important because I know students are like, well, do I have to purchase all the textbooks that's there? Because I've had experiences where, and this is a student, a continuing student that shared this. I had an experience where I went to purchase my textbooks, and there were 5 of them, and then on the syllabus, 3 of them were required. So guess what? You are encouraged to look into the textbooks. You could purchase them, let's say when you find out the day of, you could purchase online electronic versions, but just FYI, to answer that question, you have to purchase from the bookstore. You could purchase anywhere else, save some money, kind of do some research on that. But if you have any questions, this is where you need to go, okay?
I'll add to that. Our bookstore also does rentals, so like a lot of other websites as well. Our bookstore does do a rental program, so you can rent straight from our bookstore. I will add that there's 2 cool things that come out of our bookstore. So if you want to go through our bookstore just because you know it has all the information, because obviously our professors work with them. And to Star's point, a lot of the orientation leaders or current students will tell you, wait until the first day of class, because your professor will talk about what you need to get. It's like Star mentioned that student of like, there were 5 listed online, but the syllabus only has 2. So like, what am I supposed to do? So a lot of students will tell you, wait until the first day of class. The professor will tell you like, hey, these 2 are required. These 3 are recommended, just as like supplemental material, but these 2 you have to have. So you're not buying all 5 and wasting your money. You're only buying the 2, unless you're really into that topic, buy them all, right? I do that, but I'm a nerd. So I would add to that with our bookstore, number 1, they also do price matching with Amazon. So if you bought the book from our bookstore and then found out a week later the exact same book is being sold from Amazon. It has to be Amazon directly, not like a third-party retailer on Amazon. Let's say Amazon is selling it for $13 cheaper. You can send those receipts to the bookstore. How they're managing this online, I don't know, but there is a way. But that $13 difference, you will get issued a $13 gift card to the bookstore. So your money is still coming back to you to be able to spend in other ways. So know that. Number two, the bookstore also gives money back to campus. So there's a really great reason not just to go off campus. You might find it cheaper. Other retailers, absolutely save your dollars. Like, I fully encourage that. But also know that the money that the bookstore gets goes back into campus. And that's how some of our cool restaurants have happened. That's how some of our buildings have been populated. So also know that if you're supporting the campus bookstore, you're supporting campus quite literally as well. But price match, absolutely. Save your dollars, do all the things, and buy the books that your professors tell you that you need.
Thank you so much, Megan. Absolutely. And I have another, I just want to let you know, again, Megan had covered this earlier, the resources, right? So important to know what you have access to. And there's a lot of information out there. So a student asks, well, how do I know what's available to me? Well, we don't know until you need it, right? So let's say this, let's say you need help with a class and you need help specifically in writing your paper. There's a writing center. Let's say you need help with an accounting class. We have the tutoring center. Well, how do I know if I don't know where to go? And again, I'm gonna go to Google and we're gonna pretend this is Google, but we just go in and say CSUSB tutoring, right? And we wanna make sure we're going to the right tutoring. So Coyote Plus programs, you'll see our tutoring office. And again, all of the information about tutoring, about the writing center is here. The link program supplemental instruction, you may see that on your Blackboard as well if a course has supplemental instruction, but all of this is here online, and again you have access to, and it's all just taking a moment to search. And I know it can get overwhelming, so it's like, can you just provide me with the link? Sure, definitely. If you DM or direct message or email, we can do that, but I want to let you know all the resources are online, all the information is virtual. And if you still need help, please reach out to us, because we would hate to where we have that resource or information and then you don't get to it. One more thing I want to cover that I'm going to tag my bud advisor, Michael here, is the academic calendar. I know a student was like, I could see the important dates. I have, you know, I want to make sure I list out everything on my schedule. I'm going to pull up the academic calendar, and you can find this again online if you Google, but I'm going to tag Michael in this. And Michael, why is it important for students to have access to the academic calendar and to know due dates? Why do you think, what would you tell students?
Great. Thank you so much for posing the question. I think it's very important to know when you're starting at a new place, what's happening and when. So for instance, 4 weeks into the semester, we have a date called census date, which is the absolute last day to drop classes, right? That is, it's important that you are aware of that, those days and times. And so there is an academic calendar that goes from start of year all the way through the end of year. And it will give all the dates that you'll need to know: when finals start, when finals end, when semesters start, when semesters end, when breaks are in there. And so you can always make sure that you're on track. If maybe you're a person who wants to get a calendar or a planner for the year, you can start putting in some of those important dates with reminders, just in case there's important information that you want to be aware of. But it's always best to kind of know when things are happening. And the university has done a good job of putting everything out there at the start of the year. And that way you can always keep up to date with important dates.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. I do see some questions here coming in, and I want to make sure that we answer those questions live. So I'm going to mute here sorry, I muted too quickly. So I was going to say, I was moving my lips. So I'm going to go
5 months later, we're still learning the mute button.
Yes, yes. So I think you've answered a lot of the questions on there, Megan. Thank you so much. But also, please ask any other questions that you may have. Or
well, I think a common question, this is speaking to kind of Aline's question, is, you know, some of my classes don't have a date and time posted on my schedule. So let's talk about that for a second, because that still might be accurate, that they don't have a specific date and time posted. So can either of you talk a little bit about that and what that means?
Oh. You first. No, you first. You first. The class, some classes will not have days and times and may be listed as TBA, or some would just say online. So there are two forms of classes, two ways that classes can be instructed. One is through what is called synchronous, which means class happens at the same time that it's listed. It may be like a Zoom session. Okay. Then there are asynchronous classes, classes that though there's a time and day listed, the instructor may choose to not meet at that time. They may post readings, discussions that you have to do during the week. Those both of those kinds of classes may have times and dates. So when you're registering for a class, it's a good idea that you're available at the times and dates that the class is listed, but your instructor may choose to not have class. Okay, they will inform you as we get closer to the start of the term. Then there's the other version of classes who don't have a day and a time. In those classes, you can expect that aren't going to have a specific scheduled meeting time. And so those classes may be like traditional online classes where you might have to do readings. They may do like video lectures and you have to watch the lecture. They may have quizzes, weekly quizzes that you have to do, or discussions with classmates, but they're not going to have a dedicated meeting day and time.
Someone told me that asynchronous was best explained like Netflix. It's class on demand. And I thought that was a really cool explanation for classes, because it is, right? So like your professor will record their lecture from their office at home and tell you like you need to watch this by the end of the week and then take a quiz by Friday at 5. Like, so it's class on demand. And I really like that explanation because it made it awesome. So like synchronous and asynchronous, like, yes, they're fairly simple words, but like explaining really like how this works. You're watching live TV or you're watching Netflix.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I thought it was such a great explanation.
And I'm going to use that here from now on.
Right? Like it's so, like it makes it that much like, let's talk about what we've all been doing for the last 5 months is watching Netflix, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So you're watching live cable because your class is synchronous, or you're watching Netflix because your class is asynchronous. I thought it was awesome. Great.
That is great.
I see Kimberly's question. So what will the Ask Me drive-through be like? So Ask Me is an event that comes out of our office, so orientation and first year experience. Traditionally, if we were on campus and in person, we would have information booths all over campus. So if you were lost finding a building or couldn't figure out where to go pay for your parking permit, like that kind of stuff, we stage these info booths all over campus with faculty and staff like Star and Michael. They're just providing answers. Obviously, it looks a little bit different in a virtual world, but we still want to provide a space, much like this session, for you all to stop by, ask questions, get help if you need it. We also have swag that we normally pass out at orientation, and now our office is full with swag because we couldn't pass it out at orientation. So the drive-through is number 1. The first stage is really come by, say hi to Cody, the Coyote, grab your swag. If you have questions and have things that you're still trying to figure out, because it is the first, second, and third day of school, depending which day you're coming by, we still want to make sure that you're going to get answers to your questions. So if you have questions, you'll be sent up to, this is all in the parking garage. I'm sorry, that's helpful. In one of the parking garages on campus. And if you have questions, we'll send you up to the next level of the parking garage, and you'll have orientation leaders, some of our advisors, staff like myself who will be up there answering questions, and again, taking care of whatever you need. So if at that point you still have questions, we are your people. So it's a drive-through info booth, if you want to think of it that way, but also a great class. Like I said, we'll have a whole bunch of swag that we're passing out and all kinds of fun stuff. Again, you're still a Coyote, even if it's virtual. We want to make sure that you're set up with all your Coyote gear. And so we'll be passing out some stuff and again, answering questions as you need. So I'm really excited about it. It'll be great. And I think we'll have a good opportunity to meet some of you all face to face, even with masks on. So we'll see part of your face, but still a way that we like to welcome our new students and welcome you all. So hopefully you all will sign up. There is some registration links. We'll get them posted. I will find them. But I do want to open up, as Star mentioned, if there's any other questions about classes, about Blackboard, about how do I do any of this, feel free to put it in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand, or just pop on your camera and unmute yourself. Again, we like voices. We like getting to know you all and hearing anything. So any questions, let us know.
Absolutely. And I think drive-through, that's awesome. I know that, during this,
it's gonna be fun.
We don't get to see a lot of people. So this This will be great. And thanks, Megan and your team for doing this. That's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a good thing. I think, obviously, very much preferring being on campus and saying hi to everybody, but I think like I said, it gives us a way to at least still say hi in person in some way to our new students and our new Coyotes, and again, get them set up with all the swag. So
absolutely. And I just want to let you know, so I'm not going to call out the student that that messaged me privately, but
yeah,
I to let you know that I'm going to answer this in general. So let's say, so you may or may not see courses in your Blackboard right now. Saturday classes begin Saturday, the 22nd, and then Monday will be the first day of Monday courses, right? And then we start on thereafter. So please check your schedules. Remember the hybrid, remember the fully online, synchronous, asynchronous, just like Michael and Megan were explaining. But let's say this, and I've had this question from spring, summer. Let's say your class is supposed to start or begin at 2:30, and it's Monday, 9 a.m. on Monday, and you still do not see your course, right? And I've had that question. And I want to let you know, and I want to encourage you, please be patient. Please be mindful of our faculty and everyone on campus. We're doing our best. And as you can imagine, some faculty are teaching multiple subjects, multiple courses. Please be patient. I know that with a specific student, the course showed up a little after the time that it was supposed to start, right? And so the professor had mentioned, hey, we're not going to meet. We're not going to meet today. We're going to meet on Wednesday. So it is, and emailed it, right at the time it was supposed to start. But again, as you can imagine, I know I would be like, oh my gosh, my class is not here. What
that's stressful.
It's very stressful. It is very stressful. And then you want to find, of course, I'm putting myself in that, type of situation. I'm like, I know I'd be freaking out. I'd be calling everybody. I call Megan, I call Michael, I call the professor, I call the department. But I do want to let you know this. Please be patient and please be mindful that we're all doing our best, right? And also, let's say you don't hear anything, you don't receive any notification, because this has happened too. You don't hear anything back from the professor. You could always email the professor and say, hey, I noticed that I don't see the class. I did not see any notification the day that your class is supposed to be scheduled. The next day, if you still don't see it, please reach out to the professor. You can always search and find the department, and you can contact the department and say, hey, I still don't see the course on my schedule. It could be a system thing. Maybe the courses didn't add correctly. It could maybe be, hey, we need to find out what's going on with this course. But again, please, we encourage you to ask, but also to be patient. And Megan.
I'm going to add to that because I get this question a lot is, how do I reach out to my professor? Like I see their name on my class schedule, but like, how do I find them? So I'm going to share really quick because I realize like most people don't know how to actually find out what their professor's contact information is. Because on the schedule, like it's not a link, it's just Wilds or Harrison, like they don't actually see anything. So save this page because it will save you a lot of time. From the CSUSB homepage, across the top, you'll see My Coyote, Library, Important Things, Directory. Save the link to the directory. It is everything, especially since all we can do is email people right now, right? So the directory will allow you to search by anything you know about that person. So if you only know their last name, you can search by anybody who has any snippets of Harrison, right? If you only know what department they're in, you can search, let's say I'm looking for alumni relations, you can search just by department because you know the name of the department, but you forget the name of the person you're looking for, and you can find everyone who works in that department. So save the link to the directory. It will save you a whole lot of grief as you're trying to find people, again, especially virtually. Oh, I should say, let me go back to this. So let's say you're trying to email Michael. It will have their phone number, which right now, is still helpful, but some of us don't have access to our phones. If you click the little person next to them, it'll bring up their full profile so you can find his lovely headshot, but also more importantly, his email address down here. So again, save that page. It will save you a lot of grief in the long run.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Megan. I'm going to share a couple more things before we go on. Please ask please ask questions. You could totally unmute and interrupt my presentation or what I'm talking about. We really want to make sure we answer your questions. So I'm going to go back to here. I just want to let you all know we do have a new CSUSB advising podcast. It is available.
Great.
Podcast. Thank you, Megan. All your podcasts platforms, but also we do have financial aid. A lot of students have been listening to it and have mentioned that it was great and it answered some questions. One of my students said they played it, they listened with mom and dad or grandma, grandpa. It was very helpful because it gave some insight. And again, it's just general information, but it answered a lot of questions. We also have Dr. Davidson Boyd, our undergraduate studies dean. She was able to answer questions of how to prepare for this upcoming fall. So FYI, please make sure you check it out. Little snippet of it is on our social media outlets, but other advisor, Matt Markin, and I are hosts. And again, you will soon hear from our other advisors, Michael. Hey, we might even have Megan on here to talk about the process orientation going into that next year, but please make sure that you definitely listen in, especially since financial aid is there. And then I'm gonna ask Michael to advertise as he's up next.
So one way is through podcasts, right? There's various means that information gets out. But another one is big that's been during the COVID-19 has been people have been doing live. You've seen your favorite celebrities doing live sessions. We've been doing live sessions for quite a while now, and we will continue to do so. We've got some coming up next week and the week after. So please feel free to just chime in. We had one this week that just passed. Myself and Star will be on, but please join us during our live Instagram sessions. We will be answering questions and talking to students, giving updates during that as well. So on Tuesday and then the next Monday, the first day of class, please feel free to join us on our Instagram page if you don't already join us, if you don't already follow us.
Awesome, thank you, Michael. And I just want to let you know, let's say if you are not available during this time, the day before we do have on our Instagram page questions, so you could submit your questions, and then throughout those questions, Michael and I or the upcoming session, Advisor Vanessa will be answering them. So we do give students the opportunity to ask their questions, and then we sort through the questions and answer them during the live. Let's say you're still missing out on that. A recorded live session is going to be posted via the IGTV, so you can always go back. And just FYI, we just had a session with Advisor Erica and also financial aid, and you could find that in the IGTV, so FYI. And then lastly, of course, stay connected with us, CSUSB Advising. We're on almost all of the social media platforms. But again, please don't be afraid to ask. If you DM, someone will get to you. If you email, if you're shy and you want to message Megan, please do. And I see some questions coming here, and before we go into this, I want to make sure that we answer them. And thank you, Megan, for answering them. I see them.
Yeah, awesome. So Eric, back to your question about the bookstore. So yes, you can definitely buy the books. The bookstore is physically closed. Like you wouldn't be able to go in and in person buy your books anyhow. So you have to buy them online right now. So I just dropped a link in the chat for the bookstore. And again, you can reach out to your professors now. You can look on Blackboard if they have made their class live. They usually have their syllabus posted. Their syllabus will reflect which books you need to buy. But again, I think a lot of current students will tell you they recommend waiting until the first day of classes to figure out which books you need, because your professor will typically cover that in their first day of class lecture or just overview about the course. So I definitely recommend, I will echo the recommendations and telling you to wait until the first day of classes to figure out which books are really required. Because again, you'll have a professor, to use Star's example from earlier, you'll have a professor who lists 5 or 6 books in the syllabus, but really only 2 of them are required. The rest are just recommended additional reading material to supplement what you're learning about in class, right? But you really only need these 2 because this is what's being talked about in the lectures or on exams or what have you. So definitely do that. Celine, I'm gonna message you and have you email me, and we can talk about makeup orientation. So email me and we'll get that way. So I'm gonna share a couple of other things before we wrap up. And again, we'll still be here to entertain questions, but I do wanna share some other last little tidbits as we, again, start the countdown to fall semester. We have another First Year Friday session before classes start. So if you're curious about things regarding laptop lending or Wi-Fi or what kind of free software campus has, because as a student here, you have access to tons of free software. So you shouldn't have to buy any software. for yourself. So next Friday is our navigating tech tools. So with our information technology folks and our library who runs the laptop lending program and all kinds of things. So there's information on our website, the orientation website under First Year Fridays, or on our social media channels through our link tree. You can register through there as well. So definitely want to encourage you, check that out. We talked about Ask Me, but another thing I want to share with you is our new Student Convocation. So new Student Convocation is next Friday morning. It is also one of our big signature events that we host through our office here. And we serve it as really a kickoff to the start of the academic year. It's more specifically a kickoff for all our new students and officially welcoming them to Csusb from not just our office, but from faculty, from staff, from some of our leadership, both our student leaders and our administrators, our president. Obviously it has to be a virtual event because normally there's like 1,000 people there. So obviously that is not a thing, but virtually nonetheless, it will still be a really great ceremony. And again, kick off to the start of the school year. So I did share a little while ago and I'll repaste them, the links to register. So there is a link to register for new Student Convocation and for Ask Me as well. So I'll share those links again in a minute. And then Ask Me again is the first 3 days of classes. Again, we have some swag that we want to get to you all that we couldn't do during orientation. So fun stuff. So if you need some CSUSB gear, we will definitely hook you up with that. But also another chance to get some in-person, socially distant, safe help if you still have questions any point during those first 3 days of classes. So as you can see, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 10 to 2. Register there. They'll provide you details and all that before we get started there. So I will, share those things again. But I saw more questions pop up in the chat also. So, oh, stop share. There we go. Eric, I'm not sure your question. If you want to unmute yourself, Eric, if you can, if you have a mic, or clarify what your question. I'm not sure what you mean by auto deposit or direct deposit. We'll give Eric a second there. But again, if there's any other questions, hopefully this has been helpful, even just in reaffirming some information that you heard earlier this summer or anything that you need. I do want to entertain anything, whether it's anything random from parking permits to eventually needing parking permits to class help to Blackboard help to how do I join an organization? Like we can talk about anything and everything. So let us know if you have questions. So again, in the chat, feel free to unmute yourself or raise hand. Any of those options work. Thank you, Mia. I'm glad to hear it was helpful. Again, that is our goal, right? We know, and I think Michael and I share this at almost the end of every orientation session is, moving from high school to college is dang well hard enough to do and figure it all out because we put a lot in your hands. Like you're a college student now, like you need to figure it out. And so I give you all the kudos because doing that, number one, in the first place is tough enough. Number two, having to do that 101% virtually just adds an extra element of what is going on with my life. And even us, I feel like 5 months in, like we're still kind of figuring it out too. So as Storm kind of echoed is give us a little bit of patience and grace because we are still making sense of all this and trust us. Our job is to be with students. So we'd much rather be with you all on campus rather than doing this virtually. So let's see questions. Eric, there's an auto deposit where we can set up online instead of going like, oh, I gotcha. So Eric, it's not auto deposit, it is called direct deposit, which means that let's say you're getting a refund because let's say your tuition was only $3,500, but you're getting $4,000 in scholarship. So that $500 can be sent via direct deposit to your bank. I hope that makes sense. So direct deposit is if you get any refund money from after your tuition is paid with your financial aid monies that you can set up direct deposit to be sent to your bank account. So I hope that makes sense. So Eric, let me know if we're good. Lorena, how do I get involved with leadership organizations on campus? So there is a great tool. I'm gonna go back to share screen, I guess, here. And find my website. So there is a great tool. So if you are on your My Coyote, mine will look a little bit different than y'all's. But if you go all the way down to University Life and click Coyote Connection. So Coyote Connection is kind of this really cool, if you want to think of it as a database, but it's really this portal that is designed for student organizations to share about themselves and for you to get involved with. So you can search all the organizations that we have here on campus. So if you're looking for, well, I guess we'll do this two ways. Number one, if you're looking for something specific, like I really want to find an organization that is related to my major, you can search by academic org. So I'm an accounting major, I'm going to join the Accounting Association, right? If you are interested in finding a club that's just a random hobby and something, you can search like special interest. And so you might find like art in action, like random cool like that. Like we have an anime club. You'll find kind of things like that. You can also, if you uncheck that or reset, you can also just search like, all right, I'm a super anime fan. Oh, I guess the anime club doesn't exist anymore. So there used to be an anime club, but you can search by like if you have specific interests and if you spelled your words correctly, you can find any of those organizations that apply to those interests, which is super cool. There's also a number of campus departments and offices that have pages on here, so you can find events that way. We'll share events and things that way, like Ask Me, like New Student Convocation, all those things. So there's lots of cool things. So Coyote Connection is your place, most definitely. The Office of, I'm going to type this out unnecessarily. The Office of Student Engagement is our office that oversees all our student organizations and Greek life and honor societies and leadership opportunities. So they're going to be your best place to go, aside from Coyote Connection, to find opportunities to get involved with them. So cool.
Just wanted to chime in this. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
A minute what Megan had shared too. I know that you pulled up the anime club and there's none, right?
Those don't exist anymore.
Right?
They were a big thing for a while.
Yeah, and I remember they had a little showing, I think, at the library one time. So
They used to set up a TV in the Union. Like they used to bring their own TV every day.
That is amazing. And I want to encourage you, if there is not a club here that you feel like, I want to begin this club, I want to start this club, if you go to the website that Megan just shared, there is a new charter, a new organization packet that you can fill out. You just need to know an advisor for the club or the organizations. And again, please ask because their office can help you set that all up.
Yeah, you only need 5 people. So if there's 5 other people that you know that are anime fans, you can get our anime club restarted. I don't know why anime is my example today, but.
I love it, love it.
Kimberly, I saw your question about the school booklet. I'm assuming you're meaning the new student handbook. So if you requested one, they are literally getting printed as we speak. So I hope once we receive them, we'll get them turned out and it should be hopefully to you before the end of the month. So probably, I would say the first week of school, if not later the first week of school. But yeah, so new student handbook to you hopefully the last week of August. So I'm glad we helped Eric. Cool, that made sense. So Lorena, I hope that answered your question in terms of organizations and getting involved. So Coyote Connection really is the place. I also recommend, if there's things that you're interested in, I would say the vast majority are really big, involved, active organizations also run social media pages. Check them out, depending on your major, depending on your interests. Like most of them are running some pretty active social media channels. So you can reach out to them that way and figure out how they can get involved or how you can get involved and join them. Even virtually. A lot of organizations are still doing meetings. They're doing like virtual fundraisers or online fundraisers. Our students, our current students, are definitely doing a lot in making sure that the clubs are still up and running, even though that they don't actually get to hang out and do events in person. There's definitely ways that they are looking to make sure that they can do everything they can, that their club is still running and people still know who they are, which is really cool. So Lorena, can we receive gear for free? It's a great question.
It is a great question. And I was going to ask you, Megan, can they? Because one of the CSUSB swag they're getting is through
there is some swag you can get at the Ask Me. So Lorena, if you want to sign up to join us through the Ask Me drive-through event, there is some swag you can get that way, most definitely. I will say, and this is virtually, I think there are some social media channels that have been doing giveaways and stuff like for t-shirts or water bottles or whatever, but nobody in particular comes to mind. I would say when we're physically on campus, it is much easier, as you will see departments tabling or giveaways and stuff happening, I swear, like every week. Like you can get a new shirt any day of the week. So virtually that is a little more difficult to answer, but I would definitely encourage you, and that reminds me, I need to reshare the links for Ask Me and New Student Convocation. So Lorena, if you want to sign up for Ask Me, you can definitely get some swag there. Super. Here we go. Kimberly, you would need to reach out to the honors program. The honors program does have an office, but I don't know if that's where they're setting up their giveaways. So I would reach out to the honors program to figure that out. So they're just honors@csusb.edu to email them. But I would reach out to them and figure out what their plan is for distributing those sweaters. I have that sweatshirt and I love it, so you will enjoy it greatly. Awesome. We have a couple of minutes. So again, if you have any more questions, please feel free to keep dropping them. There's quite a few of you still on here. So again, we would love to entertain any questions, thoughts, random musing that you all have. If you all want our insights on anything, we are most definitely happy to share. Otherwise, hopefully this has been very, very helpful to you. I am gonna go ahead, Celine.
Okay. My question was about transferring later on in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to take like any special courses or like complete something in specific?
Yeah, so I did chat you back in the chat, but if you're considering transferring to another university, it's not classes that you would have to take from us. You'll need to research the university that you want to transfer to and what their requirements are. Your advisor here can help you make sure that you take the equivalent, because the course numbers might not be the same. But so you'll need to do some research on which university you want to transfer to, what major you're going to have, because every university will have different requirements. And so once you know that, then your advisor here can help you make sure that you're on track to complete those so you can apply to transfer.
Okay, thank you. So I just research and then I communicate with one of my advisors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
That's exactly it. Maria, regarding hotspots, yep, there you go. So it's Star just shared that information for you. So hotspots and laptop lending, you'll sign up online. So Star just linked you to a website where you can request a hotspot if needed. Lorraine, I see your question. So when can we start applying for scholarships from CSUSB? So kind of like FAFSA, the scholarship application at CSUSB follows pretty much the exact same timeline. So October 1st, number one, when your FAFSA opens for next year, and number two, when our scholarship applications open. So financial aid will send out tons of communication about that, but make note, I should add that to my calendar. October 1st is when FAFSA opens and you can apply for all the money. So, and then that portal closes usually early March as well. So you definitely want to make sure that you get on that. Some of the scholarships are heavily competitive, and so you definitely want to make sure that you don't miss those deadlines. And number two, that again, you're not missing out on free money because someone's going to pay for your school. So definitely make sure that you get your applications in for that.
I also wanted to, I know there was a question about note-taking tips. We actually
Yeah,
have
that was a good one.
Course that that I'll post in the chat. But just to throw out a few note-taking tips, each student is going to learn what their individual note-taking style is and what works best. But just to give 3 quick tips, and then I'll give a website that has a lot of study skills links for students, not just with notes, but also test taking, exam anxiety. So I'll post that in the link. 1, if your instructor slows down, write it. 2, if they repeat themselves, write it. 3, if they say, write this down, write it. And if it's on the PowerPoint slide, write them down for those things. But we have, through our tutoring center, we have a study skills links that have different articles that can provide you some tips for those. Also, meeting with an academic advisor, they can give wonderful tips as well. So I'm going to put that link to the tutoring center's study skills link.
Star just did.
Oh,
Got you, bud.
perfect. Nice. Okay, Star just placed that in, so you can use that link to get some resources for study skills as well.
I'll add to that. And I think one of the things, because that applies to both virtual classes, but also when you're in person, right? I will add, especially virtually, if your classes are synchronous, they're live cable, ask your professors if they're recording the Zooms and if they're posting them. You know, there are some people who, if I'm on a lecture, if I'm on a meeting like this, like I can take notes as I'm listening to my lecture. There are some people who need to go back and hear it 3 or 4 times over for it to like sink in, right? So if you're one of those people, like you just need to hear it over and over versus writing it down, like ask your professor if they're recording it, if they're gonna post it, if they're gonna share it, or if they're not recording it, can they? I think not just in person, but you know, taking notes in high school is very different than taking notes in college. And I think you'll learn that, especially with the way professors lecture sometimes. I had professors in college who literally talked for 2 hours straight. like it was nothing. And you wrote for 2 hours straight just to keep up, right? And I see Star and Michael nodding. Like, we all had that professor who talked for literally 2 hours straight. And you were like writing notes as fast as you could for 2 hours. I think also figuring out your method is like, I have to write things out because that's how my brain remembers everything. There are some people who are like, I'm just typing notes off to the side, like kind of half listening, but typing everything that my professor said, hey, write this down. So kind of to Michael's point is everyone's going to figure out what works out best for them. And it's okay if it takes more than just 1 semester to figure out what your method is. Again, considering this virtual semester, but I would definitely encourage you to, number 1, check out that link for sure. But number 2, recognize that what works now may not work next semester, and what works for your best friend isn't going to work for you either. And what worked in high school may not work now either. So I definitely encourage you to kind of check out multiple ways to do that, and play around, and you'll kind of, what works best will click, and you'll find that.
Absolutely. I think, Megan, you hit the nail right on the head. What worked in high school may not work in college. So you may have to be open to learning, you know, what will work for you. For Megan, it was writing things down. For me, it's writing notes, but also I had to doodle. I had to be drawing.
Yes, me too.
In my notes, because that way the concepts connected if I draw things in while I'm taking notes. So, you know, it's one of those things that you will definitely learn a lot about yourself. I think probably the most you will learn about the subject that you're interested in, but probably more than anything in this college experience, after you're done, you're going to know more about yourself than anything.
Mic drop. I think we can wrap it up from here now.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to figure this out. I will also recommend, and I tell my students this all the time, is, and your professors may have some expectations in turning your camera on for Zoom, especially if you're doing some synchronous lectures. Some of your professors may require that your camera is on for attendance purposes, for taking exams, etc. So my best recommendation, and this kind of goes along with the study tips, but also just like class tips and navigating the semester, is treat it like you're actually going to class. Like, it's so easy to just roll over in bed and turn your computer on and be here, but everybody knows, like, you're not really here. Even if you're listening, you're not actually hearing anything, right? So treat it like class. Like, have a table or a desk, something, some space in your room that is not your bed, that you can actually feel like you're in school and you have a place to take notes and you're set up, right? Like, if I could show you my setup here, I have a notebook to the right, I have my other notepad in front of me, I have 3 water bottles because I drink an absurd amount of liquid, and all my pens and my glasses. Like, this is my space, right? There is scientific research that proves, like, your brain knows that when you sit on your bed, it's time to go to sleep. So if you are setting your computer up and your books up to read in bed, that's why you fall asleep in like 20 minutes, because your brain knows, like, this is where I sleep. If you give your brain a dedicated space to say, this is where I study, this is where I go to school, you'll actually treat it as such. So not just for attendance purposes, but treat it like you're going to class, even if it is just watching live cable TV for your lecture. That's my number 1 tip. And I think our students struggled with that last quarter. And I think some of them learned that the hard way. So you don't need to get fully dressed. Like, you can still look like you just rolled out of bed, but turn your camera on, be present. Your professors want to know your face too. Like, talking to black squares is not entertaining for them either. And so I definitely encourage you, again, even if it's the day, like, you're like, oh, I do not look cute today, you know, like, turn your camera on, be in class, be present, and be there for your professor. Get to know your classmates, communicate in the chat, be a part of that as well. Everything that you put into it will make it that much easier. So I'm gonna say, any last questions? Otherwise, we'll kind of wrap up from today. I saw lots of thank yous and this was helpful. So hopefully you all found this super helpful today. Again, that is all we were aiming for. I am gonna share one last slide with our social media channels as well. So I know. Thank you.
I'm like,
So I do want to encourage you to follow any of our channels as well. We share a lot from advising and updates and things. There's jobs happening on campus, or there's events happening on campus. We share it all across our channels. So definitely encourage you to follow our channels if you haven't already. And hopefully we'll see you across those. But I want to say thank you to Star and Michael for being here and for sharing all your insight and wisdom. And again, hopefully this was all helpful for all of you. To the 10 of you who are still hanging out with us, again, hopefully you got all your questions answered. I'm going to put my email in the chat. So if you do have any questions, because there's always something like as soon as you hang up, you're like, oh, I had one more question. So my email address is in the chat for you all. So if you have anything that comes to mind, please feel free to shoot me an email over the weekend or whenever you need over the course of this semester. And we'll definitely help you out as soon as we can. So thank you, Star. Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate it. And thanks to those of you who are hanging out with us on a Friday afternoon. Classes start in 10 days. We wish you all the best for your fall semester and your start here at Cal State.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Megan, for having this. We appreciate it.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.